Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to a brand new episode of Catching Up with the Backs. Our first guest of 2021 is the Silverback all-time wins leader with 59. He suited up in a franchise-high 132 games as a goaltender from 2012 to 2016. Please welcome Angus Redmond. Angus, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about, of course, your long tenure with the Silverbacks here, your season at Michigan Tech, and then, of course, your pro career so far in the AHL and the ECHL. But first, can you just tell us a little bit about what you have been up to the past few weeks?
I've been obviously waiting. I'm a free agent with hockey right now, so I've been still been skating and training, hoping to catch on with the team here soon. But I've been doing some goalie coaching here in Langley and just trying to stay busy, working with some younger kids at goalie clinics with minor hockey and stuff. So it's good to give back and keep myself busy. So, yeah.
Let's just start before the season before you joined the Silverbacks. You played for the Valley West Hawks, the midget AAA program. I just want to know what that year was like. And at the time, was the BCHL or maybe the Western League, was that kind of on your radar at the time?
Yeah, I know some people have their plan picked out of NCAA or WHL, but I didn't really have much. I was playing that major midget, Valley West Hawks, and really just keeping my options open. And I went to the Vancouver Giants camp the year before I came to the Silverbacks and went pretty well, but nothing really came of it. And then I played a little bit of Junior B in Port Moody, and then Troy Mick came and watched a couple games, and he brought me up to Salmon Arm and was fortunate enough to stick there. And obviously I was there for a while. So yeah, it was, I really had no plan. I was just whatever came up, I was ready to go. So it all turned out though.
Yeah, so that season with Port Moody, you started there. It looked like, not a great team in terms of the results, 6 wins all season, but you had a very respectable .907 save percentage. Can you just talk about, were you guys getting shelled all the time? Were you getting a lot of shots? Did that help to get you noticed by the Silverbacks?
Yeah, it was. We didn't have a great team. Obviously, it's good as a young goalie, though, to get a lot of shots, probably, 40, 50 a night, to have probably had a 5 goals against average, but still to keep an over 900 save percentage is pretty impressive. So I think it was great for my development just to get all those shots and different situations, and it's better than just standing there on a dominant team and just getting win after win and doing nothing. So it was an interesting start to the season with all the losses and stuff, but I was just trying to do my best, give the team a chance to win, and obviously it led to getting recruited by Troy.
Yeah, so what part of the season did Troy kind of bring you up to the Silverbacks?
It was I think a couple weeks before Christmas. He was down in Lower Mainland and watched a few games, and then brought me up. I think it was a week or two before the Christmas break, because I just had some practices. I don't know if I played in a game before the Christmas break, but just practice, got with the team, and then went home for Christmas break for a week, and then came back up, and stuck the rest of the time.
I did look it up. Your first BCHL game, you're right, was after the holiday break. It was January 5th. Looking back, 34 saves on 37 shots, but also it looks like it was a tie, a 3-3 tie back then. Do you remember that game, and how was it frustrating that the game ended in a tie?
Was it against Trail, I think? Was it Trail, maybe?
Yes, I think it was. Yes.
Yeah, it was back then. They did the overtime, and then there's it'd just be a tie. So I guess it's better than a loss to start out with, but yeah. You always want an end result. But it was a good game. If I recall, I think I had a penalty shot in the overtime, made a save. So boosted my confidence a bit, and yeah, so that's all I really remember about it.
Well, so actually, I didn't write it down. It might not have been Trail, because I got here that your first win was against Trail.
Okay, maybe I'm mixing them up.
On the 18th, well, okay, so to get your first win, though, stopped 31 of 32. Do you remember what that felt like?
Oh, man, that was a long time ago. It's hard to remember back that far, but it's obviously good to get a win under the belt. And I think we had a jean jacket going at the time for the team player of the game award. I remember getting that, so it was pretty pretty exciting start.
Now, the playoffs that year, so you and Adam Clark kind of split. You guys played the first place Penticton Bees. They did get the better of you, but I mean, some of those games were close. What do you remember about your first playoff experience in the BCHL?
Yeah, I think I was not expecting to play in any. Obviously, Clarkie was pretty established and very good goalie, and I managed to get in a few games and played pretty well. And I think that's when I first started talking to Michigan Tech. They were at those games, so yeah, it was exciting to get in. Like, obviously, Penticton was pretty dominant back then, which they always are. So they had a lot of guys playing in the NHL now, so it was great to gain that experience at a young age. So
it looked like, yeah, as a 17-year-old, I mean, the scholarship to Michigan Tech that's when it happened. Do you remember how they kind of approached you and how did it happen? How did the verbal scholarship to Michigan come to be?
First person I talked to was Bill McCult. He was an assistant coach there at the time, and Shane Hanna, and there's a couple guys already committed there. So talked to them about it, and yeah, I just committed to them right away. Pretty much didn't really think about it. Didn't do any visits or anything. Just I didn't really know too much about college hockey back then. Growing up, it was never really in the like most people just talked about WHL. There was never really too much college hockey talk, so I had no idea where Houghton, Michigan was. Little did I know it was way up in northern Michigan and very snowy and cold, but I committed right away, and yeah, I was committed there the rest of my time at Salmon Arm, and it all worked out.
Yes, for sure. Now let's talk about a couple years after. So you did split the next season with Clark, but then 2014-15 for the Backs, you played in 50 games. What was it like to handle such a huge workload that season?
Yeah, that's a lot of games. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved being the go-to guy, and I knew every game I was ready. It was never in question if I was going to be am I going to be getting the start or whatever. I was just ready to go every game, and I think that was another huge step in my development to know you're the guy that needs to be relied on, and you got to be ready to go every night. And I loved playing all those games. If I would play every game if I could, so it really gets you in a groove, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Now, that 2014-15 season, I talked to Chase Prisky and Taro Hiroshi a few months ago about that last game. It came down to like the playoff race, 1 point out. You guys just missed. Do you remember kind of that season, it coming down to the wire in the final game against Penticton?
I remember that we had a really strong team. Like, we had obviously those guys. They're still playing, and Taro's in the NHL, and I'm sure Prisky will be close behind. So we had a really good team, so many good players, and it was unfortunate that we missed out. I think it was still the format where there wasn't like a crossover. The interior teams all had more points than the mainland and island, but we missed out even though we had more points. So it was sucked, because I think if we got in, we would have had a good chance to make a run. And now then you decided to return the next season as a 20-year-old. What kind of factors went into that decision? Well, I think it was a factor of if the goalie at Michigan Tech was going to sign pro or not. So he decided to stay for his senior year at Michigan Tech. So then I was bumped back another year, but I had no problem coming back. I loved it in Salmon Arm. And as a goalie, there's really no reason to go to college any earlier than you need to, because you need to get games in and work on your game. So I think coming back for another year and playing, I think I played quite a few games again that year. So it's just, I think it worked the best in the end to get those games in and develop more. Yeah, so you talk about obviously getting in games helps, but I also want to know, is there something about the style of game that the BCHL is that helps you as a goalie develop for the next level? Well, the BCHL is a pretty offensive league compared to the USHL. I think is a bit more defensive. So the BCHL is a little more run and gun, so you get a lot of shots, which is good for a goalie. You see different situations of odd man rushes and that kind of stuff. So I think, the BCHL is great development league for goalies, and to see a lot of shots and get yourself in different situations you might not see yourself in games that you get 20 shots all from the perimeter.
Now the fans here, the community, you played here, as mentioned, a few years. What stands out? What do you remember most about the fans here in Salmon?
I just remember they're very loyal. We had lots of same ones would be at every game. People would be there watching practices, and just the support around the community of the different sponsors or different restaurants we go to, or just anywhere we went, really. People were fans of the team, and they helped us out a lot. And I love my time at Salmon Arm. I still go back and golf with Brooks and visit my old billet and stuff. So I still love Salmon Arm, and I love going back to visit.
You've also come back for a Pro-Am game a few years ago. What was that like?
Yeah, it was fun. Obviously, those Pro-Am games are not the most defensive-minded, so they're fun for players, but the goalies have to work a little harder. But no, it's always great. I love anytime I can get back up there and be in the community and see the people that used to come and support, and I'll take that opportunity anytime. Now,
former teammates, you mentioned like you'd come back and golf with Brooks and stuff. Teammates, who do you still keep in contact with most from those days?
Well, I played after my Salmon Arm time. I played with Alex Gillies and Shane Hanna and Evan Anderson, so I still keep in touch with them every now and then. And Nick Hutchison was one of my close friends, so I still talk with him every now and then. Another local, Carson Bolduc, I still talk to him every now and then. So, and Andrew Farn, there's still quite a few. You keep every message every now and then, and even from way back, like the Kennedy twins and those guys. So, made a lot of good friendships over the years that I still keep to this day.
Now, most of those guys you mentioned have fan questions that we will get to at the end of this chat. So we'll save
wait for those.
Yeah, a little bit of ribbon here and there. So Michigan Tech, let's talk about that experience. How would you kind of describe your first season, your season there overall?
Well, going in, I didn't really know what to expect. You hear in college hockey, freshman goalies usually don't even touch the ice or get an opportunity. But just how it worked out with the senior that left on to pro, and the only other two guys didn't really have any experience. So my first couple of weeks I didn't play, but then I finally got my opportunity. Got a shutout my first start, and I think I started like 30-something games in a row after that. So really, I think I was really fortunate just to be coming into a good situation where I even got the opportunity to come on, because usually, like I said, there'd be a senior goalie that would play every game. So I think the timing was just right, and the stars just aligned, and I got lucky, I'd say, with just the situation and took advantage of the opportunity.
How cool was it? You mentioned having some of those Silverback teammates with you, Shane Hanna, Alex Gillies, Evan Anderson. How fun was that? Did it help?
Yeah, it helped for sure. Just to I'm a little quieter of a guy if I don't know anybody, so it was great to have a bond with those guys already, and they helped me out with classes or whatever I needed to feel more comfortable. So that was huge to have those guys there.
Now, of course, you guys also won a WCHA Championship. You beat Bowling Green in double OT, and Shane Hanna had the double overtime winner. Can you talk to me about, from your perspective, when that goal was scored, what do you remember? How did you celebrate? What kind of happened?
I think the celebration there was a pretty viral moment with the pack of teammates coming in. But I just remember everybody was exhausted. People were cramping, and the tying goal, the goal they scored to make it 2-2, I kind of made a little mistake playing the puck. So I knew I was pretty dialed in after that. I didn't want to let down the seniors that have been there for a long time, and I don't want to end off on a loss. So I just remember being a long game. Thank God. I don't know what Shane Hanna was doing up at the far blue line as a defenseman, but he got the breakaway and put it in. And yeah, that was one of the coolest moments with the Michigan Tech fans, or some of the best in college hockey. And it was so loud in the building. And so it was one of the coolest games of my life.
Where does that rank, though? I'm just curious then, to win that championship in terms of career accolades.
I'd say it's right up at the top there. could be the top one. But it was just with the atmosphere. It was like first time I think that the championship game was held at not like a neutral location. So all our fans they were camping out so they could get seats, and the atmosphere was insane. So it'll be one I cherish for the rest of my life.
Now, just curious, the next game, you guys did go to the regional semifinal against Denver. They took the game 5-2. Just want to know, though, what that game was kind of like.
Yeah, well, Denver was a powerhouse that year. They went on to win the whole thing. They had probably most of the teams playing in the NHL now. So they had a really strong team. You know, we were coming in as the underdog. We just got out to a slow start. The first period didn't really go our way, and then we couldn't catch up from there. But still, we had Michigan Tech fans were there in full force. It felt like a home game. So it was a cool experience. Didn't go our way. Would have loved to make a little run of it, but good experience at the end of the day. You
talked about how you didn't start right off the top, and then you kind of took the reins and ran with it. Your stats that season by year's end, of course, very impressive. A record of 22-10-5, 1.85 goals against average, and a .917 save percentage. I just want to know, why do you think your transition personally, how were you able to run with it, and why do you think you were so successful?
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously we had a good team at Michigan Tech, pretty defensive-minded team, so that's why I'd give the low goals against average. And the WCHA, that conference, is pretty defense first, lots of blocked shots, so I got to give my teammates credit there for the numbers. But I don't know, I think just got in that first game, we were playing Northern Michigan, our big rival, and got a shutout there, and then won the next night, only giving up one, I think. So just I was very confident, and once I kind of like in Salmon Arm, when I knew I was the guy and got to play every game, just got into a rhythm, and I think that's when I was my most successful, when I got to play a lot and knew that I have to be ready to go every night.
You talked about, of course, crediting your teammates for helping with those block shots and stuff. I'm wondering, from a coaching perspective, who kind of helped as well during your time?
Well, at Salmon Arm, we had a few different coaches, but obviously Troy Mick for bringing me in, and he was coaching a bit too and GMing. So I owe him a lot for bringing me in and keeping me there. And Brandon West was awesome. I love Brando. I still talk to him all the time. We have a great bond, and he just kind of gave me the reins and let me run with it those couple of years. So, and Mishko Antonsen too was an awesome coach. He had so much pro experience that he was able to give to us, even though he's not a goalie, but still just more just that pro mindset. So those guys were huge in my development. Obviously, I have a goalie coach here, Angelo Maggio, so been with him for a long time. And we also had different Lyle Mass would come out to our practice in Salmon Arm, so he was big for my development too. I think working on a few different things that you hear. It's good to hear different opinions. So lots of people along the way I would have to thank, but I'm sure there's more I'm forgetting. But those were big ones in Salmon Arm.
Now, after that Michigan Tech season, you immediately basically signed a contract with the Anaheim Ducks. How did that come about? How did that work? Talk us through from your point of view.
Yeah, well, once the season in Michigan Tech was going pretty successful, I started to get some calls from some NHL teams, which I never expected. It was great. It was pretty stressful times, but pretty cool though to get some calls from different teams. And then that just progressed over the season. And then once we lost to Denver, that's when you're allowed to sign, obviously. And then it was a big decision to leave school or stay. And I had the school wanted me to stay, the team wanted me to sign. So it was very stressful times. But at the end of the day, I think I was very happy to sign with Anaheim. It's always been my dream to play pro, and that's what I went to Michigan Tech to do, was to eventually get a pro contract. So I think I would have been crazy to turn down the offer. So signed with Anaheim and left a couple days later. I was in sunny California.
And you joined them for that playoff run. Talk about that experience that spring.
Yeah, they brought me right to Anaheim, and I was practicing with the team, and I go from college one day to the next day you're sitting at a breakfast table with Ryan Kessler and Kevin Bieksa, guys that I grew up watching in Vancouver. So it was pretty crazy. I'd be like, first day I'd be sitting at my own table and they'd be, "What are you doing? Come sit with us." So they were awesome, including me. And then I'd go out on the ice and work with the goalie coach and take some reps in practice. So that was a very cool moment in my career.
So the next season in the ECHL was split between Utah and Toledo. How would you kind of describe that first season of professional hockey?
Yeah, it was different. It was tough. ECHL is a lot different of a league than what I was used to playing in college. It's a little more unstructured, but so it was a bit of a tough adjustment. And I bounced around a lot because Anaheim didn't have a affiliate in the ECHL, so I was getting bounced around a lot my first 2 years. So that's always tough, not knowing where you're going to be the next day and not really having a comfortable home. So it was the first 2 years pro were tough, but I learned a lot. And obviously my last year I was able to finally find a home in Newfoundland and find some success.
So I'm just curious there, you talk about obviously a bit less structure in the ECHL. I imagine, does that make it harder on goaltenders when there's less structure? Yeah,
it's definitely a hard league for goalies. I don't know if you check if anybody checks goalie stats in that league for young guys, it's not too friendly. So it's kind of like just getting thrown in with the Sharks and see what happens. But learned a lot. It was tough mentally, but learned a lot of good hockey and life lessons through those first 2 years.
We'll get to Newfoundland in just a sec, but I do want to quickly ask about the couple games that you got in at the AHL level with the San Diego Gulls. I was looking at one of the box scores, February 13th. You came in relief and you came back from a 4-1 deficit to tie the game and send it to overtime. Do you remember that comeback, and what do you remember from that one?
Yeah, I think I got in like 2 games just in relief, but that one was exciting. Went in the third period and we started to rally and come back. Unfortunately, we lost in overtime, but it would have been great to get that win. But it was just cool to get some experience. I'd been up with San Diego for a while, practicing and backing up. So it was just wanting an opportunity, and finally got it. And the 2 opportunities I got, I think I played pretty well. So would have loved to get some more opportunity, but it's the way it goes. So
last season with the Growlers, cool place to play, and we'll get to that in a sec. But first, the team very strong. You went 16-2 last season. What allowed you and the team to have so much success, do you think? The Growlers are a Toronto affiliate, so Toronto treated us very well. Compared to other ECHL teams, we would get way more. We were treated more like an American Hockey League team, so that's a good place to start. Everybody's happy and wanting to play there, and I just finally took advantage of my opportunity, and a few games went well. I think I didn't lose. I think I won like 13 in a row or something. So just seemed like things couldn't go wrong. I don't know what it was, but things finally clicked, and it was so much fun. I loved it there. And the Growlers, you guys set a league record for the most consecutive home wins with 19. I imagine the fan support during this season was pretty cool. How would you describe the fan support? Yeah, they love hockey over there. We had awesome crowds. It was so loud in that building, and we just couldn't lose at home. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was from all the travel teams had to do to get to St. John's. It's a tough place to get to. Lots of delayed flights because of wind and snow. But it was a very, very cool experience to set a league record like that. And nobody would talk about it till it eventually. We didn't want to jinx it, but we got it done. And very cool thing to be a part of. Also curious about living there. Like, what did you enjoy most about Newfoundland? Just like some of the views out there. So the outdoors and stuff is amazing, and just the whole atmosphere of going out to different restaurants and stuff. They got a cool culture over there. So
learning that culture and all that stuff was is very fun, and I'd love to go back and visit one day.
And then lastly here, obviously COVID has affected the season. I mean, almost every ECHL team is not playing. What's the timeline, I guess, that you're hoping to do to get that contract?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I was skating with a pro group here in the Lower Mainland until they all had to leave to go quarantine for their NHL camps. So now I'm just on the ice with my goalie coach, and I'm hoping it'd be nice to hopefully something in the next month comes up. But I think once the NHL and AHL all start up, there will be a lot of movement between teams. So I'm hoping a spot opens up and I can get there and take advantage of an opportunity.
Awesome. Let's get to some fan questions, former teammate questions. So first off, let's just roll in. Start with Carson Bolduc, who asked on Instagram, is it true that you would get out of the net in practice when people would take slap shots at you?
Just him, because he could shoot the puck hard, and it was he'd come in nice and close and wind up. I don't think he might tell you he knew where it was going, but I don't believe him. It was always high and hard. So yeah, it was an ongoing joke that when he came down, it'd just be either ducking out of the way or he'd be hitting high glass with his slap shots. So
nice. Next question, Landon Smith. Who was your favorite teammate from Colorado? Now, he, of course, is from Colorado. Evan Anderson, I believe, is also from Colorado. So you got to choose.
There's a lot. I don't know if I've met a bad guy from Colorado. Obviously, those two I played with, and also Andrew Farney and Phil Middleton are both from Colorado too. So all those guys are awesome guys. I don't know. I'm sure Landon Smith wants me to pick him, but all of them are awesome. I got along with all of them very well, and I'd love to maybe one day go visit them in Colorado and do some skiing or snowboarding or something.
Yeah. Evan Anderson also has a question of his own. Says, do you think number 24 should be retired in Salmon Arm? Fair to say he wore 24?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he was good in Salmon Arm. That line they had of Landon Smith, him, Evan Anderson, and Alex Gillies, they dominated that one season. They were there with, obviously, Landon Smith won the scoring title. So they were a dominant line. So maybe they'd like all their numbers up in the rafters, I'm sure.
Jeff Kennedy asks, at golf, who wins straight up, you or Brandon West?
I've only golfed with Brandon a couple times, but he hits it pretty good. I think it might be close, but I'll give it to Brando. He hits a pretty good ball, so I'll give him that.
There we go. Okay, that's it for the questions for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with getting that next contract, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for joining us, Angus.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.